because it's the silly, stupid, fascinating, weird, wonderful. They're my people, and more often than not, they're the geeky people as well.
I mentioned Betamax. For anybody older, that's the old version of a video cassette. Video cassette is an old version of a DVD. A DVD is not set on the cloud.
Ho, ho, ho. Welcome to Faith and Geekery. Welcome to our Cosplay and Comic Con special. This evening, I am Mark. And this is...
Becca!
And this is...
Tim, recovered.
Hooray!
Welcome, folks. Welcome to another episode of Faith and Geekery. My name is Mark, as we've said, and we are obviously going Comic-Con themed and cosplay themed tonight. And already, I feel very strange that you cannot see my face and how I'm talking otherwise. But shall we continue like this for now?
Yes, for now.
Yes.
I think we should let those who are listening to the podcast version of this probably know.
Yes.
Mark, what are you cosplaying as?
I am cosplaying Death, being the Hogfather from the Discworld series. And so what that looks like on screen is that I have got a lit up skull. I've got a skull-like face with LED eyes, with a black hood, and a Father Christmas kind of attire around it. So it's a mixture between like the Grim Reaper and Father Christmas, which didn't cause any problems on the way to Comic-Con in any way, shape, or form.
Nope. No problem.
You were very worried, weren't you, Mark? There were children looking at this very, very tall Father Christmas figure with no beard and a skull for a face and glowing blue eyes.
Well, I mean, I wasn't actually wearing the skull on the way there. I think it was only once I was there. But then there was some kind of concern
there were still children.
that people didn't know who the heck this was. Becca, you are not dressed as your normal self, or are you?
I am not, and I'm finding it incredibly difficult to stay in character. I am Sadness from the Disney Pixar movie Inside Out, so I am fully blue with a blue wig and a perpetual look of sadness. Which got me all sorts of benefits at Comic-Con, I will say.
And conversations on the way to and from Comic-Con.
Conversations to and from. I kept it on until I was on the train back home, and it does elicit instant responses from people.
Going to say it was very impressive, very impressive.
Shout out to the random guy at the Whitechapel Sainsbury's who had a random conversation with us over Lego.
Sorry, Tom's put squeak, 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 which I think is referencing the death of rats from Discworld. And Tim, just to let folks know who are on the podcast, are you dressed as a character?
I am not dressed as a character. I am, for those that do not know, during Comic-Con, I could not really speak and yet persisted. And so for the last week, I've been unable to speak and not feeling 100%. So I am present as my very geeky self, but I'm wearing a Guardians of the Galaxy baseball cap with a flannel shirt.
Baby Groot. We wouldn't have you any other way. You're uber geek.
I think I proved that credentials last week.
Yes, you did. He was like our guide of all things geeky, and
he really was.
Squeaking kept squeaking when he saw things that he knew, and just kind of, it was like when you imagine the Google glasses that kind of tell you information about every person walking towards you. In the background there was Tim just naming and then listing all of the reasons why they were an interesting character.
Next year I should go as Clippy. Just
Do you need
emerge
help
big.
with your cosplay?
It's like, oh, you seem to be cosplaying as Michael from Magnus Archives. Here's some more information.
That
It
would be
was very
quite
good.
cool.
At first, I genuinely had thought you'd just lost your voice because you were so excited, and then obviously as it progressed and otherwise, it's like, oh no, this is actually seriously kind of like affecting your
He
ability
is
to
actually
talk,
deaf.
and
Yeah.
you're actually poorly rather than just kind of very excited and fanning out. So, I mean, the usual question that we ask is, what geekiness have we been up to since we've last met? Obviously, it has been Comic-Con related for us here. Is there anything else that gets special mention in the last week or so, folks?
Ooh, in the last week, there was a Dragon Age: The Veilguard was released, which is a video game that I've been looking forward to. I've been playing
Cool.
a little bit while recovering. There was also a Ode to Castlevania DLC for a video game as well, which I've also been playing.
Very cool.
In, dare I mention, AI related news to do with geekery stuff.
You dare.
The BBC are resurrecting a talk show host like no other using AI. Michael Parkinson is now hosting a new talk show on Radio 4, and it's been generated by AI. And they had to, when they broadcast it last week, they had to put Michael Parkinson brackets AI because it is scarily uncanny valley of how real it is.
So is the person that the AI is interviewing obviously
So the guests are going to be real people, but all the questions and all the patter is going to be generative AI voiced as Michael Parkinson, including like the inflections and everything.
I've got to say, I listened to it on was it New? Have I got news for you or something like that? And it was eerily amazing how much it actually sounded like Michael Parkinson. It was just Michael Parkinson, which was just eerie. Wow. Just as I'm sure this sounds just like Mark Stennett, but yeah, this is Death just kind of talking to you.
Here we are with Death. Yeah. See,
folks,
I've had a text conversation with Jesus before, which wasn't actually great, and it kept telling me, but this is an AI, this isn't really Jesus, and then we'll keep responding in Jesus type parable ways.
But we met Jesus at Comic-Con. I got a photo with Jesus. I got a selfie with Jesus.
That's very cool.
Folks, yes, my partner, whose comment is on the screen, I was messaging a lot of, when there was phone signal, there was a sort of photo dump of like, by the way, this is here, this is here, this is here, this is here.
Yeah, very cool.
I was going to say, folks, if you have been up to anything geeky, do please let us know in the comments, or otherwise, carrier pigeon may take us a while longer. But
smoke signals.
Yeah, they're also acceptable.
Can I tell you my exciting thing? It came today.
Yeah.
Right. It's here. I'll take the bottom one. So I don't know. I am a sucker for adverts, and pip decks kept coming up over and over again, and then I started looking into it. And what they do is summarize. I mean, it comes in this really lovely box, which is really tight and really well made, and then all the pip decks. Is that my? Yeah, no, that I pulled out some to look at tomorrow. It summarizes, if you think about all the books that are there for creativity, innovation, problem solving, strategy, you go into a bookshop, huge amounts of things, and there's a lot of waffle to get through. So the author of Pip Decks basically said, but I could summarize that into usable tactics. So you then go in and they give you this lovely flow chart of different ways to use it. And then it gives you some recipe cards of the things you might want to do. And then, I mean, when you look at this, you think, Becca, have you really just spent that amount of money? Because it was expensive. But in terms of, it gives you this tiny bit of blurb, and then what you need to do in order to implement years worth of expert research into the world of business, innovation, strategy, teamwork, productivity, loads of stuff. So
Can you explain what they are? As in, I realise that they kind of bring things all down, condense things down.
So this is, what am I on? This is the productivity one, and your productivity strategy system asks you a bunch of questions. So, are you ready to go to work? If the answer is no, then you go to prepare, and there's a set of cards for preparing to go to work, and that's about how you orientate yourself within your space, what you need to do, how you need to think about the day. And if your answer is yes, 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 all the way down to the bottom, and the question is, are you feeling energized? And the answer is no, you'd go to reset. So this is a reset card, and it talks about monk mode. And it says, step away from the whirlwind of modern life to break unhelpful habits and recharge your mind. And then it gives you a step of how to go into monk mode in order to recharge, reset, and then go about your, and it's kind of fun. It's making work a card game.
It's gamifying it, and I'm here for it.
I know. I am so here for Pip Deck. So I'll
also imagine it. I also imagine it like saves the shelf space for the amount of books you would have to buy in the first place.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly how many books this is actually representing, but it's really beautifully made, really classy. I mean, it shows the expense of the actual cards, but it is an investment in stuff. What does Mark say? Tom says, I've been planning a colour scheme and thinking about some lore for some new models I've ordered, backed a couple of Kickstarters, Discworld RPG and Trench Crusade, and ridden on a narrow gauge railway. Not actually something I'm personally geeking about, but I appreciate some are. And that's what we're about at Faith and Geekery, is getting into the geeks of other people's things, because there's a reason people are excited by narrow gauge railways. I could get excited about a railway because it's like, oh, this is exciting.
I'm particularly excited by Tom's mention of the Discworld RPG, which has been flooding every single social that I have. It knows I'm there. It's trying to get me in, but no. I already spent my allotted money at Comic-Con.
I think I'm also aware of the Discworld TRPG Kickstarter. My only concern is what I've seen of it so far. Whilst it looks good, some of it looks a lot heavily more scripted and kind of like, railroaded. So I like the idea and might just get it for like the statistics and otherwise, but I'm a little bit wary of actually the content. But I'm sure Tom will keep us up to date and otherwise. Shall we move on a little bit? Are you happy still me wearing this thing, or are you wanting me to wear it for the whole duration, aren't you?
Let's see your face. I think it's okay. Keep the hood up.
Yeah, it does look like those, like, Death is slightly, your head's slightly askew. It's like Death is caring about you right now.
Yes, it is that pastoral head lean, isn't it?
Well, I was wanting to show engagement, and yet it's very hard to show engagement when you haven't got a face. So yes, for podcast people, I've now kind of removed my cosplay, other than my morph suit. Just going to turn,
which just looks like a normal cassock day.
Alternatively, you are cosplaying as Peter Pan Shadow from the popular.
yes, put the hood back on. That'd be brilliant.
The Shadow.
Very good, very good. Oh, that feels a bit more normal now. So, is there a quiz now by any chance, Becca? Do we go to
Should we have
time?
a quiz?
Let's have a quiz.
Yeah, let's. Oh, so is someone doing the tech for the quiz? Hang on.
Sorry, I thought you were. I was going to try and just get my headphones in.
Hang on.
It's fine.
Oh,
we're
dear.
professionals here, people.
That
We're
was
good at
so
this.
slick. Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
wait.
people know
And
this
here we
very-
go. Oh, there we go. Oh, no.
So
Good
slick
news
they did
is,
it
for
3
our
times.
podcast viewers, were we all clicking it at the same time? Okay,
No, I
so
wasn't.
that was pure me. That
Yes.
slickness, that was all on Sadness. So there were 5 of us that dressed up. Is that true? No, there were 6 of us, and one of us went home on the Friday. So I only remembered that there were 5 of us. I'm so sorry, Christoph. Is it Christoph? It was Christoph from
Yes.
Frozen.
Yes.
So the quiz today is focused on the 5 characters that I remembered when I was doing a last minute quiz. So question number 1, if you have your pens ready.
Yep.
Why was Sadness, as in me, consoling Bing Bong? Why was Bing Bong so sad?
Does it consist any spoilers of Inside Out 2? Because I've not seen it.
No, it is not an
Okay.
Inside Out 2. But is Bing Bong even in? And I don't think he is.
Well, no, I don't know. That's why I was just checking.
Spoilers for Inside Out, the first one. Bing Bong apparently does not leave Inside Out 1.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Question number 2. In the renowned Discworld series, what number book is the Hogfather?
Oh, that is.
Does that include Strata? Does that include? I'm
just gonna guess.
Yeah.
I hate
My
number
gut
ones.
says that one.
It's so boring. I'm so sorry. Okay. Number 3. What is the name of the ring that Gladriel, also known as Holly Adams, wore? What is the name of the ring that and you can have a bonus point if you tell me how many rings the elves were given in Middle Earth in the Second Age.
No idea what the name of it is. Let's make something up, folks. Definitely not getting 5 points for this one.
So the very lovely Jenny played Ripley from Aliens. What is the full name and rank of Ripley?
In Aliens, the original?
Yes, in the first one where she appears. What is her full name and rank? I love it when I stomp you, Tim. It's like the greatest ambition of my quizzing
It's
master
also,
life.
I would say it's a horror movie, and I haven't got much experience of horror movies. But the pub quiz that we did at Comic-Con proved otherwise.
Didn't you answer most of the questions where otherwise no one knew the answers?
I think Tim answered 58 out of the 60.
and we got above average on the answers. She's something like.
Definitely not getting 4.
Same.
Okay, last question. The very lovely Tim went as John Constantine to Comic-Con from the Hellblazer series. In what comic did he first appear as a supporting character?
Definitely
You
not
can
getting
also
3.
give me what volume it was, what number it was, and what date it was, Tim. Come on.
Okay.
Decided
okay.
against my answer of DuckTales for that one.
Hang on. It was. I'm remembering the order of everything in my head. I think it was.
Your thinking noises on podcast will be incredible.
ASMR thinking in Tim's brain. I think it's that. I have a distinct memory. It's that. I could be wrong, but that's fine.
Okay. Are you ready?
Let's do
it. Right. In Inside Out number 1, Sadness comes alongside to console Bing Bong because his truck that he used to have all of his memories with Riley was pushed into the pit of whatever it's called.
Yeah, the
such a
pit of
cave.
forgetting and abandonment, isn't it, or something?
Yeah, something like that. Joy. I've used it in different training things where she just comes and sits next to him and says, "This is really sad," and he goes, "Yeah, it is really sad." And then they're sad for a little while, and then he goes, "Right, let's go." Whereas Joy had tried to completely wash over his sadness. Sadness comes and just empathizes, and it's this beautiful moment of intentional listening.
I'd actually put that he was a forgotten imaginary friend.
Yeah,
That's why
I
he
put
was
like
sad.
abandoned / forgotten by Riley.
Yeah.
No, it was because his truck was pushed into the pit, and that was like the straw.
But don't worry, kids. Spoilers.
Spoilers.
The truck made it out. Bing Bong.
The truck made. That was actual spoilers.
I did say spoilers.
Oh, look, I blend with that's nice. Okay. Number 2 in the renowned Discworld series, The Hogfather is the 20th book, and it focuses on the absence of the Hogfather, a mythical creature akin to Father Christmas who grants children's wishes on Hogwatch night and brings them presents, while Death, played by Mark, attempts to fill in for the Hogfather, hence the Father Christmas outfit. His granddaughter, Susan Stowe Hillett, tries to find and rescue the real Hogfather. What number did you get?
I'd written 7. I thought it was much earlier.
I'd put 14th.
There you go. Number 20. Okay. Question number 3 was about Galadriel. The name of the ring she wore was Nenya, also known as the White Ring, or the Ring of Adamant, or the Ring of Water. Not air. You can stop your jubilant dancing because it's not right. It was the Ring of Water, and it was one of the 3 rings of power given to the elves of Middle Earth in the Second Age. Ring of Water.
Would you accept Bling a Ding Ding?
No, I would not.
No. Was it 3 rings, by the way, as well?
Because it was in
fact 3 rings. You may have a
ring
point
of
for
fire,
3
ring
rings.
of air, ring of water.
Yes.
I always thought Elrond ended
water.
up with the ring of. No, he wasn't a ring bearer, was he? That was because what's his name?
For those listening, Tim is doing some interesting bearded action.
Yeah, because Kieran, the boat builder, is the only bearded elf, and he's given one of the rings as well. And I always thought he got the Ring of Water because...
packing in extra Lord of the Rings facts does not negate the fact that you were wrong.
I know. I will not take my bonus point.
You can, you know where to stick your bonus point. Right. Question number 4. Ripley from Aliens. Her full title was Lieutenant First Class Ellen Louise Ripley.
Rat.
Nope.
By the way, Tom had written up this earlier. I didn't want to disturb you. The first film is Aliens Singular, directed by Ridley Scott. The second one is Aliens Plural, directed by James Cameron. The great film debate is which is the better film. I've always preferred Alien, but I have friends who prefer Aliens.
There you go. And that is why we're here, for the great debates such as that.
I put Lieutenant Cosmonaut Jane Ripley because I genuinely had no idea, but I knew that Lieutenant was in there somewhere.
You got Lieutenant. You can have half a point for Lieutenant.
I put Engineer First Class.
Right, you can have half a point for First Class.
Is that a Red Dwarf reference?
Maybe. It's like Supernatural.
Be.
Everything's a Supernatural reference eventually.
Right.
Next.
John Constantine first appeared as a supporting character in Tim?
I want to say Sandman Volume 1, Issue 9.
You would be wrong. It was Swamp Thing, Volume 2, number 37, June 1985.
I was going to put DuckTales, but I went with Hellboy, but still wrong.
And Swamp Thing's Swamp Thing's a really interesting series around identity, because the body that Swamp Thing inhabits has an identity, but they also can't remember if that is actually their body or not anymore, and if it's actually their own being. Because Swamp Thing protects the green, which is the supernatural embodiment of nature in the DC universe.
Nice.
I got it wrong.
This is why we're keep him around, people. This is why everyone needs a Tim in their life. That's the end of the quiz. So, how did you get any points? Were there some points there?
Was the 3 rings? Is that half a point, or was that just a token nod?
You can have a point. Yes, I did say that you could have a bonus point for 3 rings.
I've got 1.5 then.
I've got 2.5.
Congratulations, 2.5.
Well done.
Oh, the pain on your face was absolutely worth the last minute quiz generation.
Shall we move on to our subject of the night, which is cosplay and Comic-Con? Are we happy to move on to that seamlessly? See how that
seamless moving.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, how did we find Comic-Con? Or is it good? I have got some photos if we want them up. We don't have to. Let's do that, and let's do that.
Comic-Con gallery.
This is us heading off to Comic-Con. This is kind of in various attire. I think I was the only one who hadn't.
There we go. There's Kristoff from Frozen.
There, yay! And that was us at the beginning. Oh, that was on the Saturday, wasn't it?
That was a Saturday. The Saturday was very busy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Kristoff left at the end of Saturday.
Everyone was in cosplay.
Yeah. And then got various little pictures. Sorry, what we should be doing is describing these for podcast viewers. So we had people at the train station then on the day. This is sadness, enjoying an ice cream, and then being very sad, or being sad, having an ice cream.
And I mostly managed to stay in character, which people did appreciate. There was an element of you stay in character and they engage with that. It was really hard though, because half the time people are smiling at you because they recognize you and they're really excited. And that ice cream had 2 bunny ears on it because the lady in the ice cream van wanted me to be happy. So to stay sad all day when people are giving me double-tailed ice creams and stuff, it was a hard slog.
But now we know if you want to get like double-tailed ice creams. Yeah,
just go and look really unhappy and sad. If you can drag out a tear and just look up at the person,
just have a really melancholic version of I'm Blue, Dabble Dee Dabble Da playing in the background.
Yeah.
We don't have to go through all these pictures just yet, by the way. I was just wanting to give folks a bit of a taster. So this is sadness being pulled by the leg in one instance by Holly as what's her face? Galadriel, thank you. And then one by Death in front of the MCM logo, where you can go for the
hashtag branding.
Yes.
Shall we pause with photos for now and talk a bit about kind
Yeah.
of our experience of Comic-Con? How did we find it? How did we feel about it? We don't have to do a big kind of theology dump or
Debrief.
otherwise. Yeah, because we did plenty of that. But yeah, how
We
did
did.
we find it? What did it say to us about it?
I think it was exactly what I hoped it would be. It was full of people not taking themselves too seriously, of a range of different things. I think the thing that most excited me, and I didn't realize that it would pull so much joy, was seeing Sylvanian families there. It used to be my thing. I used to take Sylvanian families to school, and there's something about that. It connected with 5-year-old Becca, who was absolutely delighted to see these fuzzy, funny toys that had made childhood playtime so delightful, and we used to gather as all of the girls in class and some of the boys and play in the old roots of the oak tree in the junior school I went to. And I think that is at the heart of what's going on with all of these different images and people and characters and products and paintings, is tugging on either familiarity or a story to connect with. And it was just, there were some really magical moments, and it hit the extroverted geeky spot that I was looking for.
Yeah, I went in with a mission on the first day, and my mission on the first day was just to get all the artwork and all the present purchases out of the way, which I did. You know, when in doubt, ADHD planning, get it down to a T, you know exactly where they are, go in. And the conversations that I had with the artists in Artist Alley were really great, really amazing, really loved it. And there is something quintessentially British, I found, of being in really long queues and just striking up random conversations with people around you. Even when you cannot speak, you will still try and strike up a conversation with the random people around you. And it was just really fun, and all in the same boat, all really excited and all geeking out over all manner of things, no matter how small. And just seeing that in the queues, at least, throughout the weekend was amazing. And I think, unless you want to talk about it, this, Mark, like when we, at one point, because of your cosplay, you needed some help walking around the venue.
I needed a lot of help. Thank you. I really appreciated it.
But like some of the interactions we had with people who wanted to like take a photo with you or have a conversation because they saw like, wow, you're in a Hogfather attire, was really great. I think at one point, the one that sticks in my mind was we bumped into a kid who was cosplaying as Michael from the audio horror fiction, The Magnus Archives. And there was just that the spark of recognition, the fact that you recognize who I am, and then having a conversation around the cosplay, and that you both had the same fingers on your gloves. Not that, you know, other fingers gloves are available, but these ones are pretty cool. For that kind of like interaction and recognition of who you are was like an absolute joy to see, and you could see that happening everywhere, even if you weren't involved in the interaction. Yeah. I mean,
People
like,
shouting sadness and running up to you, and one woman instantly flung her arms out because she wanted to hug me. She'd never met me before, but she connected so strongly with the character that she couldn't help it. So I said, "Do you want to give me a hug?" And she said, "Yes." And she just,
I really loved when you encountered Joy on. I think it was it must have been the Sunday or something. Like,
I broke character.
Yeah, it's like I've never seen Sadness look so happy at finding Joy.
Oh.
I found joy in it. I fully embodied the moment. It was glorious. And she had the same response, and I had
Yeah.
another response with another sadness and embarrassment. And there was just something about meeting strangers who connected with your story without any words needing to pass between you. You didn't need to do any introductions of this is what I stand for, and I find this really important in my life. I was blue, and I connected with people just because they found something meaningful in the story of Inside Out.
I think for me, I found it really interesting that it felt like a pilgrimage of interests, of passions, of geekery, of nerdery, of like kind of wanting to kind of pay homage to artists if you knew that they were going to be there, to be able to share something that you are so driven by or passionate about, to be able to artistically represent it, or even just a nod to it, or like otherwise. I think it's just really I found that kind of sense of belonging in this place. But interestingly, on the first day, I went in my dog collar, in kind of clergy attire, and I think people really struggled to engage with what I was or who I was, whether I was in cosplay was or not. And so something that's usually a visual representation in society suddenly was lost amongst these crowds of people cosplaying and kind of reflecting a passion, whereas dressing up as the Hogfather, actually a lot of people didn't know who the Hogfather was. I think a lot of people just thought I was a skeleton Father Christmas, which feels somewhat sinister. But when people did get it, when people were like, oh, that's that is what made my heart jump for joy a bit, and it was just not joy of joy, but not sad, and that was kind of a real moment, and that those real connections across, not knowing the people, not being able to articulate, necessarily the amount of people who I've had a photograph with, and I've never spoken to them. It was quite sweet, but there was that connection there that goes kind of, that is threaded through the fan connection.
I mean, like on the Friday when you were in clerical attire, you missed out on going to a cosplay booth because they thought you were cosplaying.
Yeah, we were.
Like they tried to grab you for professional cosplay photography because they thought you were cosplaying.
And both Jenny and I completely oblivious. What does that say about the ministry? No, so I think it was. I did find it a very interesting time, and again, as somebody kind of going along, experiencing it for the first time, and just kind of seeing this real connection with often, do I say introverted people, or a lot of introversion, or a lot of people kind of to themselves with their passion suddenly have this platform, this space to articulate their fandom by emanating it, about what's the word,
embodying it.
Embodying it. It's just kind of, it was really quite profound, really.
I think we said it at some point over the weekend, like it was like you take all the fringes and you had them gathering in one place, and that there was, like, I think one thing, I think you mentioned this, Becca, during one of the evenings we had with pizza and food, where it was like it was a really inclusive space. Like there were so many cosplayers from different ethnicities, body types, gender portrayals, everywhere.
Ability.
Yeah, and it was an absolute joy, both the character and the emotion, just to see that everywhere. And I think we were kind of reflecting a little bit, like, what would this look like if we had that in our own church spaces, that kind of, the radical inclusion and the radical acceptance of who you are and who you're embodying.
Because there weren't any rules for cosplay. There was Scooby-Doo there, There were Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There was the Chewbacca from Star Wars. There was it was the breadth of who you can turn up as. If it does it for you, then wear it. And there were times where we were surprised by how small people's costumes were and how much flesh it revealed, and yet it just fit and it worked, and that's how they showed up as an authentic representation of themselves. Yeah.
I think there is. I hope you don't mind me kind of talking about this kind of cosplay element of this now, of where, and I think Tim mentioned this about kind of, could you imagine this then reflected in a church setting, in a place where you could kind of come cosplaying to worship, and I think that for me, I kind of reflected on kind of going, actually, sorry for folks who aren't into the church side of things, this is where I naturally kind of fall into. I was just thinking, but actually, how many of us do actually dress up anyway for church? How many people kind of bring a representation of themselves on a Sunday morning different from their midweek anyway? And so actually, I know it's not like a branded, or we're kind of dressing up as Jesus, or kind of dressed up in other
That
ways.
would be a
but
bit
actually,
weird.
there is a
as Jesus.
but there is a bit of a representation of here. What are we representing? What are we trying to reflect in a holy space compared to kind of a Comic-Con space? And actually, do we want to go to be recognized before God in worship, or do we kind of try to be a better version of ourselves? And Lydia's just talking about neurodivergency as well. I mask a lot as a neurodivergent person, finding I have less and less energy to do so. And again, this is it, should we be trying to mask ourselves in worship?
And I think we've mentioned this before in other conversations around TTRPGs and role playing and stuff. But a lot of people that were cosplaying characters that really resonate with them at a deeper level. They may not have had the words to express openly, or using it as a way to understand who they are. And you saw that a lot, and actually there was some really good authenticity. And that I don't think that I've been in a church where there's a space of that kind of, where you can come and kind of like work out who you are, and be like trying to wrestle with who authentically you are and who God authentically recognizes you as. Whereas, you kind of like going in with the pre-expectations of who you should be rather than who God wants you to be.
Yes. Who you should be in the context fitting into this environment. And there was an element of the environment is come for non-traditional storytelling, come for the wonderful world of science fiction and comics and gaming and all of that kind of fun, seemingly frivolous stuff, but come with what resonates with you. Don't try and fit in, because the only way to fit in here is by finding something that you connect with and being brave enough to show this matters to me. And it's interesting, I did have a chat with a couple of people that didn't come in Comic-Con this year, in cosplay this year, because they hadn't quite landed on what they wanted to be, or because they weren't quite confident enough. And yet that you're surrounded by so many people that have just gone really ballsy, I don't know how else, bravely, there we go, into this space of, this is who I am. And I had a great chat with someone who would come as a really vulnerable, broken character. And they were able to break down why that story and his story had meant so much to them, and what the hope for. I said, what do you really hope? If the ending isn't what you want for this character, what do you want? And it was simply this trans young man saying, what I want for this character I'm playing is for him to be reunited with his family. And that undercurrent of what I'm hoping for really is connection with my family in a meaningful way. And it was, and I don't think that thought process had fully gone into dressing up in this costume, but just a little bit of conversation of what does this mean for you? Why is this an external visualization of something else that's going on deeper that you're hoping for? Just kind of, it was just so ready, because people have spent hours and weeks and days thinking about how to represent themselves at Comic-Con. All you need to do is scratch the surface slightly, and they're ready to tell you why this is so meaningful to them. Which is just, I mean, when else do we have those spaces where people are that ready to have those kind of conversations?
I'm aware we've got a couple of comments, but I think this is really kind of interesting conversation about how we kind of dress or express ourselves in aspiration, in kind of, and how the fictional or the fantasy stuff can kind of speak at a different level. And again, Tim, referencing you about kind of role-playing games, is that you have that ability to embody something or have that distance to deal with a subject at arm's distance, that the focus is on something else. And I think cosplay very much is like that as well, is that you can kind of come into this space and you can represent something, or you can deal with something behind a mask, sometimes physically, but also sometimes just at arm's length, which is like a way of processing who you are, about identity, about belonging, about kind of tackling bigger issues. And I just found it really quite profound of how we can kind of, you know, I know I've said it jokingly about what would cosplay church look like, but actually what would it look like if we were free to express our aspirations, about our hope, about our identity, and not be afraid of being judged, or not being afraid of being rejected, I guess.
There was a moment, like in one of the panels I went to, where it was a panel. It was two podcasters talking about a variety of their projects and having a Q&A. And a lot of the people coming up to the Q&A were cosplaying as this same character, but they were all in really different interpretations of this character, but they all reflected a little bit of who they saw the character as, who they saw themselves to be. And they had really good conversations about that as part of the Q&A. That even the creator who designed this character that they play in this podcast, and they went, I never said this character has a scar above their eye, but that's been added by cosplayers or artists at some point, and that's now just proliferated throughout the community to the point where I'm like, that makes sense. Let's put that in for my character now. I'll wear that now. And you're kind of seeing, like, I wish I went. One of the panels I wish I went to was the Rusty Quill panel, which do the audio series that I'm really invested in a little bit, because they do some really good conversations around. I think I mentioned this a little bit in one of our debriefs, like how they design these characters and don't really give any descriptions of what they look like, but as the community embraces it and takes it on a life within the community space, it kind of gets like, well, actually, yeah, of course this character is going to be asexual. That makes a lot of sense, actually. And then, oh yeah, this character is definitely trans, and they go all these different routes. The community starts owning it because they're reflecting themselves into this story because they see themselves in it. And then the creators are seeing this and going, yeah, no, that makes sense. Let's like pivot our story to better reflect what we're hearing and what people are actually embracing. Which within like that audio drama that they do is I don't see that happening anywhere else. But actually, what would that look like within a faith-based context? You know, like, we are that story. We are sharing in that story. We are continuing that story. We're continuing a story within a Christian context. This has been going for over 2,000 years. And what does that look like? And what do we want to see that looking like? And what will people pick up on going forward?
Thank you, Tim. Thank you. I'm aware of some comments, so I'm just going to throw those up. Tom said, this subject really intrigues me because even though I'm a thespian, I don't find cosplay either doing or being around comfortable. I like a fourth wall to be involved between either me acting and the audience, or me as the audience and the actors. I absolutely recognise that's my issue. I'm genuinely delighted others find joy, even as sadness, in cosplay. Lydia's put, and I guess this about masking otherwise, when at work I put my lanyard on and this gives me a role to step into. Again, so kind of like that border across identity and masking. Tom's also then responded, it's one of the reasons why tradition has clergy dress in a particular way in order to hide them and not allow their dress choice in the way of meeting God. Of course, nowadays it often ends up seeming like the clergy as cosplaying and it gets in the way more. Yeah, it's a fascinating one across kind of generations about what is expected of in church. And I was very challenged when I first became a minister of a young mum at the time, sort of saying, but this is my Sunday best, pointing to her in a hoodie. And I was very keen as a new minister to be wearing my big black shirt and collar. And I was like, actually, yeah, what am I saying here by dressing up very formally, even in these very informal places? And so at that point, I was like, right, you know what? I am going to keep to my flip flops. I am going to keep to my hoodie because that is what I would wear on my day off. And so I think there is something there about kind of expression, about being about being honest as well, rather than and I think that's where I really loved kind of Comic-Con and the cosplay, is that people have the confidence to really kind of wear their passions on their sleeves, quite literally. Tim, sorry, you're going to say something.
Sorry, no. I was like kind of thinking, like, actually, if we're trying to, within clergy dress, for example, that actually we're trying to put on what people think we should be looking like. What does that say when we are? I can't remember the word now. Conference Sunday, when we're welcoming and the laying on of hands of new presbyters. Why can we encourage them to actually authentically portray themselves as the presbyter they want to be, and not be like having to wear the formal black that they are told to be?
Yes, I can't really comment too much about that. I actually got ordained in bare feet. I got welcomed into reception to bare and because there wasn't a rule about it, but I do like being in bare feet. Long story short, won't go into it. But I think there is something interesting about aspiration and about portrayal and about how we aspire through what we want to kind of what do we want to see in the world, how do we want to be represented, and what difference do we want to see by reflecting how we wear and how we interact and how we show ourselves. I'm going to flick through some more pictures because I'm aware of time is running on. There's a couple more of Becca and myself, Death with an ice cream. Then we had a bit of a play with like the holding hands with Death and things like that. So this is on Sunday when I ditched the Father Christmas costume and literally just kind of came as Death from Hogfather. That was us in a more normal attire. Was that just at the end?
That was Sunday at the end.
Yeah, and so there's just a picture of us just having a bit of a selfie. Yeah. And also there's like little laminated things that we had with us that have just had our hashtag Faith in Geekery, just as a way that kind of for people to have conversations. We did have some really cool conversations. And then there's also a moment here, Tim trying to speak and everyone leaning in to try and listen because you were completely voiceless.
Yeah.
And then find a little picture there of us kind of around the MCM logo, without Bryn, unfortunately. But then there's just a couple of us there. And then I was going to mention, it's not put it on here properly. I've been asked to give a nod by Homie and the Dude. They have got a couple of Kickstarter projects, one's post and one's pre, kind of Kickstarter, but there's the website there, homieandthedude.com. A bit sweary on some of the videos, but if that's your thing, that's fine. Also, Bardic illustration, a little bit of a nod towards Bardic inspiration there. They were a lovely stand and have kind of comic books and roleplay stuff as well. And yeah, I won't mention that. Tim, have you got any to mention?
Well, you got the one up there, Drea Dreamer, who wore an amazing Captain America ball gown, and got we got photoed with them, which was awesome on Saturday, and bumped into a load of artists who I've got some of their artwork now behind me. I've been sensible. I've put all my artwork up behind me
Well
now,
done, Tim.
and it's ordered neatly, which is an ADHD miracle. But a shout out to Bexy Draws, who was a really wonderful content creator who I met in one of the queues. And going through all the various cards. Actually, for Jennifer, want to give a shout out to Helena Gatham, who she bought the Studio Ghibli print from, and was the first person to ask the artist to sign it, and she's never signed her own work before. It's like, and you could tell that was like really impactful for her, because she wasn't expecting like half the art I bought. The artists were automatically, I've already signed it, don't worry about it on this. And actually, for an artist to actually be recognized saying, "Could you please sign my work?" Like, you could
she
see the
returned,
joy.
didn't she? She bought it one day and then took it back the next.
Yeah, it was really a great thing to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Should mention Barb D. Witt Cosplay, who was a chappie who dressed up as Deadpool, which was fantastic. I should also mention the fact that walking around on Friday, I had to do a double take because it was my wife's stepbrother who was not in kind of latex and dressed as a ghoul, and he looked at me in my dog collar going, what are you doing here? And I'm looking at him going, is that you? And then later on he was demonstrating latex, and this is him dressed as a ghoul on the screen,
a ghoul from Fallout.
Yeah. So that was really cool to actually meet kind of extended family, which was just very surreal for both of us. So that was something I thought I should mention too. But yeah, I think it was really good.
And also shout out to Mike, who ran our D&D trial that we did.
Yes. Several of us were brand new to D&D, had never done it before, had never played before, and it was great. It was really fun.
We were the first group that he had DM'd over the course of the convention that had managed to do this combat encounter peacefully. So much so we had enough time to do it completely again, but this time alternative universe where combat happens.
Yeah, bless him. He was we had to kind of admit, we're like, we're the Christians here, sort of thing. And he's like, well, let's rewind. And I was like, Hunter's Mark. I attack with it. And he's like, whoa, okay, we're running straight into this. Which is like, brilliant.
Which is then, I did then go out and buy the new 2024 rules DMG, and I stayed a little bit longer on the Sunday to get it signed by the authors.
What
cool.
a geek.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I had no voice. I spent 45 minutes sat leaning against a wall because I didn't want to miss the queue. But I got it done, and I literally went straight onto the tube.
We are nearly out of time, but we've got just time for a Geeky Gallery, and some of what we've mentioned tonight is already as part of this. So we've got kind of Luke Meller sharing some of his 40k Warhammer 40k Stormcast bits. I think he showed some of the bits from last week. I think the chariot with is it griffins of some sort?
Griffins, by looks at it, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Looking
and he said he
great.
was not sure about the white, but I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Sutton's talking about Billy Connolly's book and loves his art. Then also Tom sort of said not quite Comic-Con, but he'd been playing some 40k and showing some of his kind of stuff and having it as a bit of a draw. Lydia just kind of, was it Crumble Farm or something, with walking a Highland cow with a little flower in its hair, and also some pottery painting with her mother-in-law as well. Really like the rainbow inclusive flag on the corner of the stuff. Tom's put Age of Sigma. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, yeah. Age of Sigma Stormcast.
Yes.
Fancy rather than sci-fi.
And I think
Get it back. Come on.
there you go. There's a little picture of your Dungeon Master's Guide with the signature. There's your is it Pippa file things? Pip decks. And here's a picture of Specky Geek, David. with his Poppy, Lego Poppy, which I think again is really fantastic. That's really cool, which is why I kind of zoomed in lots on that one.
If you want to show your geekiness in our Geeks Gallery, join our Discord, and then you too can have your stuff shown in the stream and on the podcast next
Because
time.
we do a show and tell here.
Absolutely.
But also,
absolutely.
join us on the Discord for further conversations about this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The
Is
geek
there
is
anything else?
inexhaustible.
Is there anything left to say or otherwise, folks? Just whether we've got to time.
I don't know. I think
Oh.
we're good.
Well, thank you
Very
for
good.
joining us. Thank you, Tim, for joining us. Thank you. I'm really grateful that your voice is back and
Yes.
back. I wanted to say a
We
special
missed your
thank you to
voice.
a special thank you to everyone who came with us on part of the Comic Con, the people that we met there as well. And I hope this has been an interesting evening for you folks. And I would like to finish to misquote Eleanor Roosevelt. It says this: "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their geekiness." Stay safe.